story, though, really, aren't we? The crisis in Ukraine. World markets sent into a bit of a tailspin on Monday, weren't they? Been looking any better today?
Yes, definitely they are. We're just over 2 hours into trading in Moscow, and the MySex index is up by over 2% after those falls of almost 11% that we saw yesterday. 2.37, you can see the latest figures. They're the state-run gas company Gazprom, one of the shares worst affected in that massive sell-off yesterday. It's back up in the green as well, only by about 1.8%. So it's quite a significant catch-up it would still have to do to regain all of those losses. The Russian currency, the ruble, also has climbed back in value after hitting record lows against the dollar yesterday. We saw the Russian central bank raise interest rates from 5.5 to 7% in an effort to stop that flight from the currency. The price of oil and the price of gold, which had both sparked over the latest moves in this crisis, they've come back down in trading today. So a general return to normality. Here in Europe, the markets have opened also in the green after those massive sell-offs that we saw yesterday across the European markets. One share I've picked out for you is that for the French bank Societe Generale, was down over 5% in trading yesterday because of their business in Russia. It's up over 2% today, so things looking a little bit more optimistic there. There was a brighter picture over in Asia in trading today as well. The Hang Seng in Hong Kong, investors there were looking forward to the Chinese legislative session, up over 0.7% as you can see, and the Nikkei in Japan also winning back some of yesterday's losses.
OK, Stephen, let's look ahead then. A delegation from the International Monetary Fund already arrived in Kiev, hasn't it?
Yeah, discussions, we're told, have begun on an emergency loan of what's expected to be $2 billion for Ukraine. This will be a special rapid financing deal ahead of a broader deal which will come after May's elections. Ukraine wants $15 billion in aid from the IMF, but that money won't come without strings attached. Under discussion will be possible privatisation of the country's oil and gas businesses. Kate Moody has more.
The clock ticks down as Kiev waits for a financial lifeline. Ukraine's new prime minister has asked for at least $15 billion in loans and told a gathering of European business leaders he's ready to do whatever it takes.
An economy which lives on loans and does not create income will be catastrophic. That's why we will have to carry out the harshest reforms.
Those measures could include privatizing parts of the country's crucial oil and gas sector, as well as allowing the currency to float more freely, cutting state subsidies on household utilities, and reducing overall government spending by about 15%. Ukraine's debt stands around 45% of GDP. It owes a total $13 billion in state debt payments this year and is paying up to 34% to borrow cash in the short term. It also owes the IMF $4.5 billion from a past aid program that was halted as promised reforms stalled. The IMF has already said it's ready to respond to Kiev's new requests for assistance, with the US and EU also set to contribute. While the international community may be prepared to act more quickly than usual, experts say it's not of the utmost urgency. The country still has some $15 billion in reserve, enough to cover its next big debt obligation, a $1 billion bond payment due in June.
Companies news now then. What's top of the bill for you, Stephen?
Well, we're going to start in Australia, where the government there says it wants to change the rules limiting foreign ownership of the national airline Qantas. The law currently limits foreign investors to holding just up to 49% of the carrier's capital, but the move isn't likely to go through as opposition parties oppose the change that it's unlikely to pass through the Senate there. Qantas is cutting 5,000 jobs after reporting losses of $210 million in the second half of 2013. The commodities group Glencore Xstrata has reported pre-tax profits of more than $13 billion for 2013. It's the first full-year result since Glencore merged with the mining company Xstrata. The firm says it's identified €2.4 billion worth of savings following the merger, which was finalised last May. Shares in the company up over 3% in London today. And a court ruling in the United States has dashed BP's hopes of limiting payouts from the Gulf of Mexico oil spill. The decision means that businesses won't have to prove that their losses were caused by the 2010 oil leak. BP had argued that some companies were submitting false claims.
Now then, finally, have a look at this. Can you see that? That's my wallet, and it's empty. You know why? Because it's so expensive to live here. But Paris is not the most expensive place, is it?
I'm amazed that you've managed to get your wallet into this story.
I have. It's only 'cause it's empty.
Singapore, I can tell you, was the most expensive city according to a survey by the Economist Intelligence Unit. It's ranked top of 131 cities surveyed, partly because of the strong Singaporean dollar, but also the city-state's reliance on imports and particularly the high cost of transport. It's also the most expensive place in the world to buy clothes, possibly important if you're going to visit there. On the longer list, Asian and Australian cities did rank higher because of their stronger currencies, but Paris came in at number 2, followed by Oslo, Zurich and Sydney. Now, Paris, I can tell you, has the highest of the top 10 cost per litre of petrol, but the second lowest when it comes to a bottle of wine, so it's not all bad news.
That's pretty good for me because I don't have a car, but I do like my wine. I've got my credit card, though.
Good,
So
well,
I'm
that's a
all right.
relief.
It's all on
You
credit
can
with
get
me.
home after work.
It's all on credit with me. Stephen Carroll, thank you very much. Stephen with that Business on France 24. Over here then, time to have a look at what's grabbing the news headlines around the world now. Of course, those tensions between Russia and the West